for Umrah and going for Ziyarat in these months. So we want to see it inshallah next year even more and more and more. Recite a salawat. The topic which I wanted to discuss today is actually a lengthy one, but I will start it today and we will see that if we want to continue in one way or the other in later opportunities, whether in Friday prayers or in some upcoming majalis. The condition of Muslim Ummah in today's world, every day when we turn on the TV or when we go online and we start reading newspapers, or if we go to social media, alaikum salam, rarely we come across with a good news about Muslims, so that we feel that alhamdulillah we are doing good, we are doing great, there is some inspiration, there is heartwarming kind of news. Most of the time the news are saddening, the news are kind of depressing. These are the news about the tragedies, the atrocities being committed against Muslims in this part of the world or in that part of the world, in this country, in that country. That is the kind of situation, and it is not only these kind of things which are now happening in Middle East, but more than that, it keeps happening around the world. What was happening with Muslims in Philippines, what was happening with Muslims in Burma, what was happening with those Rohingyan Muslims in Burma for years, and none of us really made a big deal out of it. Their suffering was not less than these sufferings. Actually, in some areas they suffered more. And many of us, we were not that sensitive, and it was going on for years. What has been happening in India, not only in Kashmir but in almost everywhere in India, and what is happening recently now in India, again many of us are either not aware, or we don't think that that's a big deal, or for whatever reasons we are keeping quiet. You know, are you familiar that masjid after masjid they are demolishing? So it has now become very easy and very kind of convenient for Indian regime, Indian government to go and make a claim that in this 600 years old, 700 years old, 500 years old masjid, there was a Hindu temple before, and then Muslims came and they destroyed that temple and they have built this mosque, and now this mosque should be demolished and mandir should be, Hindu temple should be erected there. Initially, when it was the issue of Babri Masjid, there was some cry, there was some protests, there were some activism, but since we have lost that Babri Masjid, first the case and then this masjid was demolished, Muslims have lost their hope. They even now don't really protest much. They don't even talk much about what is happening. They have. It looks like they have taken it as now a kind of reality on the ground, or something which is happening on daily basis, and it is going to happen. So there is no point to cry. There is no point to protest. There is no point to talk about. So masjid after masjid, just recently they have demolished a masjid, 600 years old masjid. So on one hand you see masajid being demolished in India, then on the contrast you see the biggest Hindu temples being built in Muslim lands like this United Emirates, Arab Emirates, UAE. First they did it in Qatar, then they did it now in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, in those areas. These are the Muslim lands. And no one had ever imagined that at a point, at one time, in these Muslim lands and this heartland of Islam and Muslims, the Buth Khanas, these houses of idols and these Hindu temples will be built in the Muslim lands. So the Hindus are demolishing masajid in India, and their houses of worship, the mega ones, the big ones, are being built in the Muslim lands. And do you see that there is any movement, there is any outcry, there is the strong voice coming from anywhere? For the paper's sake, maybe a small statement you can show me, somebody in one gathering made comment here and somebody made one comment in gathering here, and maybe you will be able to come and show me a few statements here and there, but you won't show me a strong protest, a strong position taken by any Muslim leader around the globe. So this is the situation of the Muslim world right now, what is happening with it. These are just a few examples I just gave in front of you. Muslims are not a minority or a small community in the world. Almost 2 billion Muslims live in this world. And they are majority in 49 countries in the world. In 49 countries around the globe, Muslims are in majority. So almost 50 countries. And these 49 or 50 countries where Muslims are in majority, and in minority or in a considerable minority, they are in almost everywhere. But then what is happening with Muslims? And everywhere they are now in trouble, under surveillance, under threat, being chased, being scared, being confronted, being discriminated. And it seems that we are getting used to with this treatment or this kind of atmosphere, and we think that maybe it is okay because we are Muslims, so they can mistreat us in this way or they can deal with us in this way, and if they do it, so maybe they have some right and it's okay. While it's not okay. 2 billion Muslims, 49 countries in the world. And then when we are talking about these countries, many of those countries are very rich countries, very resourceful countries, with very talented people living in those countries, and very strategically located countries. They are not just located in the corners of the world where they have no strategic, for example, importance, or these countries are not all just kind of poor countries or without any resources. They have everything. Allah has blessed them with all those blessings, and they are right now in going down and down and down and down. So, this is the kind of this is the issue of concern. We need to look at it as the issue of concern. As a Muslim, we cannot become insensitive to this. We cannot take this lightly and just bury our head in the sand, or just look around and say, so yeah, it's okay, but what can be done? Muslims are bad, Muslims are this, Muslims are that. Just again we start blaming each other and become hopeless. In Islam, we are told that hopelessness is not allowed. Actually, hopelessness is almost kufr. It's one of the major sins. So we cannot be the people who lose the hope. Matter of fact, we are the people of hope. And we believe in Faraj. We believe that there is a light on the other side of the tunnel. And we see some signs also. Yes, those are small signs and very kind of little examples, but we are seeing that Muslims are showing, masses of Muslims are showing some resilience. And they are showing their strength and their ability and their talent and their willingness to say no to all this ill treatment and bad treatment. One of the examples is the resilience of these brothers and sisters in Gaza. 4 months, almost now 7 October, and here is now almost we are close to the 7th of February. 4 months. Did anybody imagine in this world that these people who are not a formal state, they don't have any what you call the Air Force, they don't have Navy, they don't have a formal army, they are people just defenseless civilians with maybe some small and light weapons here and there. They can resist and they can fight back to the one of most powerful and the best equipped armies in the world, and not for 1 week or 10 days or 1 or 2 weeks or 1 month, 4 months. And bombing them, attacking them, committing all those war crimes and doing everything, and they are still not able to get the response or the result which they wanted to get. Yes, they destroyed all the buildings. They killed so many men and women. But did they bring the resistance on knees with their hands up and asking that please stop and here we surrender and we are your slaves and treat us as you like, as we have seen in Iraq, for example, in the time of Saddam, or in Libya or in other countries or in Afghanistan at one point? Did we see that anywhere? We saw first time in Palestine. So that shows that if this community has resilience, Muslims have that strength, Muslims have their iman, their spirit if they are given the chance, if they find a few good leaders, then nobody can defeat them. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Recite the salawat. So this is just one example. In Middle East, we are seeing some other examples also. And it started all about 45 years ago. We started seeing this 45 years before. We started seeing Muslims claiming back their authority, their country, their land, their nation, their resources. And of course, we are seeing on surface from last 45 years, but it started about 45 years or 50 years before. So what we are seeing today in Gaza, this is not something which is just has started happening overnight. It's the work of generations, and our leadership and our masses have worked for almost 100 years. In Najaf and Qom and Burujard and in Tehran and in all those great places, almost about 100 years, these hawzas, these maraje taqleed, these ulama, these leaders, these speakers, these wa'izeen, zakireen and mu'mineen, they have discussed these issues, they had gone through these debates and discussions, and after that they were able to at least claim their own country, their own power, their own resources. Then of course they became an inspiration for others, and then we see now what is happening. We are in the month of February, and you know this is the month in February in which the Islamic Revolution actually took place in Iran. That was what we call Nuqta-e Atf. What you call in English Nuqta-e Atf is the turning point. Turning point. That was the turning point. 1979, in the same month, this February, 11th of February. It's just we are next to it. But that one happening in February 1979 is actually the beginning of this, giving Muslims hope, giving Muslims this idea that your country belongs to yourselves. Your government is your government. Your resources are your resources. You have to make your own decisions. You have to go your own way and decide based on your own national interests, and not even national interests but the global interests of Muslimin and Mustad'afin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. In this day and age when we see all these nation governments and nation states, it has happened many times that the national interest of Iran and the global interest of Islam and Muslims and Mustad'afin were in clash. And voices came from Iran, from those secular kind of people who were misguided and they didn't know, they were not in line. They chanted the slogans that forget Lebanon, forget Palestine, forget Africa, forget those, and pay attention here to the local people and their needs in Iran. Feed these people instead of feeding the orphans of Palestine, for example. So there was a lot of pressure. But the leadership was able to make the right decisions. These decisions were the Alawi decisions. These decisions were the Husseini decisions. These decisions were the decisions which only those people could make, their vision was taken from the vision of Amirul Mu'mineen and Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wassalam. That we can face the hunger for some time. We can go through some of these financial difficulties, but we need to help those orphans and those widows and those people that who are on the front line. So finally, what happened? The results in front of you. You are seeing there is a hope. You see there is people are now claiming back their freedom, their rights, and they are over there in their region. They are now they are becoming a regional power. Who could imagine 45 or 50 years before that these people that who were just like slaves, now they are going to be the regional powers, and they are now the people that even international powers cannot do anything in their area or in their backyard without considering so many things. So my brothers and sisters, on one hand there is a big disappointment at the larger part of the Muslim Ummah. I gave you the examples what is happening in India. Masjid after masjid they are demolishing, and people are just watching. Muslims are being persecuted, Muslims are being confronted, Muslims are being put behind the bars, and it is happening now more and more and more in India. Situation of Muslims is not that good in Burma, it is not that good in certain other areas. What is happening in Pakistan, what is happening again, this Daesh, and everybody knows from where did this Daesh emerged, who made it, and who is funding and who is supporting. And then it is the height of hypocrisy that you build and then you claim that we are fighting the Daesh. On one hand you build it, on other hand you are saying that we are fighting the Daesh. So this is all what is happening, and then these building of these Hindu temples in Muslim lands like this UAE, Qatar, and now what is happening in Saudi Arabia. After, I think in the history of Saudi Arabia, first time they have opened the liquor shop. So now they, under the name of that this is for the embassies and for the what you call the diplomats, non-Muslim personnel living in Riyadh, they will have now access to purchase the liquor in Holy Land. And all of us, we know that when there is this kind of shop in Pakistan. I lived in a neighborhood for some time in Rawalpindi, and there was a hotel and there was a shop, and there was a liquor store, and for saying sake it was for non-Muslims. And all Muslims would become non-Muslim to go and purchase that. So these good Muslims would go there and say that we are Christians and we are non-Muslims, and here we want to purchase the liquor. So this is what is happening now in Saudi Arabia. Chun kufr az Ka'be barkhizad khoja manad Musalmani. So this is what is happening now in Holy Land. So on one hand we have these examples, this is what is happening. On the other hand, here we have the what they call it, the crescent, meaning the Iran and the Lebanon, and then this Palestine, and then you see Yemen, and then you see in these areas. So there is a little different atmosphere. Today I could just only present this, that yes, on one hand there is a lot of despair and disappointment. Overall, still Muslims as a ummah, they are not in good condition, but there are some good things happening, and there are Muslims that who are waking up and who are reclaiming or claiming back their territories, their rights, their freedom, and we all just need to keep our eyes and watch all what is happening with great interest. It's our duty, it's our responsibility to be aware of our time and know what is happening and why it is happening and who is who. It's very important. Knowing your friend and knowing your enemy is essential. Those who don't know their friends and those who don't know their enemies, they are the big losers in their life. They are big losers in their life. So it's very important to know and don't trust blindly these big news networks and their news. Their news are not news. Those are their views. And those are their propaganda schemes. So look around, there are now some better sources available for finding the news, for knowing what is happening. So try to look into those things, spend some time knowing what's going on. And because world is changing and world is now changing in a faster kind of speed. Today something is happening somewhere, tomorrow it will be happening somewhere else. And you don't know when you will be also affected by what is happening there or here. So it's good to be prepared, it's good to be ahead of the game, it's good to know how things are progressing, and it's good to know that what is the proper way to deal with these things. So in the interest of time, I will just stop here. I have very important discussion next Friday to continue this and bring it to some very important point which I wanted to make today, but if I get into that, we will get late. So inshallah, next Friday, recite a salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. اللهم صل على محمد اللهم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي بن أبي طالب. وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء. اللهم صل على وعلى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان اللهم صل وعلى آبائه الكرام متصل الليالي والأيام أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون